Disaster in the U.S. People and cars swept away by sudden flash floods in McAllen, Texas. Welcome everyone to the latest episode of Top Secret. On March 27, 2025, the city of McAllen in Texas and surrounding areas in the Rio Grande Valley. They endured a devastating flood caused by heavy rains combined with a fierce storm. The storm not only dumped a record amount of rain but also caused a series of severe damages, completely disrupting the lives of local residents. What caused this sudden flash flood? Can the city of McAllen withstand nature's fury? Here are the English translation options, depending on the desired tone. On March 27, 2025, a fierce storm unexpectedly swept through the city of McAllen and surrounding areas in the Rio Grande Valley. The familiar streets suddenly turned into raging, ferocious rivers. In just a few hours, a massive amount of rainfall, up to 30 centimeters from May 17 to May 8, poured down, leaving many areas submerged in deep floodwaters. Cities like McAllen, Farr, and Edenbrook were hit the hardest as major roads, residential areas, and commercial centers were quickly submerged in floodwaters, leaving them completely isolated. The residents couldn't help but be stunned as they watched vehicles being swept away, floating helplessly like fallen leaves in the raging current. Personal belongings were destroyed, and daily life was suddenly turned completely upside down. The tranquil air, a hallmark of the Rio Grande Valley where warm, sunny days usually rain, suddenly turned into a scene of chaos. Fear and helplessness in the face of nature's unfathomable power. The storm not only brought heavy rain but also unleashed fierce winds, making the situation even worse. The fierce gusts of wind uprooted trees, destroyed structures, and unleashed countless unpredictable dangers. The local authorities quickly received numerous damage reports, including many roads severely flooded. The power poles toppled and broke, along with severe damage to the public infrastructure system. Rescue forces, including police, firefighters, and emergency personnel, arrived at the scene. They tirelessly worked under difficult conditions to support the people and handle the emergency situation. Residents are advised to limit travel on flooded roads, because the floodwaters are not only deep but also swift, posing a risk of sweeping away vehicles and causing accidents. Many families were trapped inside their homes, while others were forced to evacuate to safety. Facing the fear of what may come in the future, the flooding in McAllen is not just an extreme weather event, but also a wake-up call about the increasingly complex impacts of climate change. Meteorologists assert that heavy rains like these, when combined with strong winds, this is a sign that extreme weather events are increasingly occurring in the South Texas region. Flooded roads not only hinder traffic but also disrupt economic activities, from the transportation of goods to the operations of businesses in the area. Many people are forced to halt their work, while others fear their homes and property will be swept away by the floodwaters. In that situation, the spirit of community solidarity gradually grew stronger through mutual support among neighboring households, sharing food, drinks, and temporary shelter. However, this support is still far too little compared to the hardships the people of McAllen will have to endure in the coming time. The devastating impact spread across the entire region. The flood in McAllen not only submerged the roads but also triggered a series of severe consequences, profoundly affecting every aspect of residents' lives. Many areas in the city lost power because electrical poles and lines were damaged. The traffic signals on major routes such as Route 2, Key Street, Jackson Street, and Rick Street have stopped working. This increases the risk of traffic accidents, especially in harsh weather conditions when visibility is limited and road surfaces are dangerously slippery. The local authorities have advised residents to exercise extreme caution, avoid traveling through flooded areas, and strictly follow safety guidelines. At the same time, emergency rescue forces were deployed to assist the severely affected areas. From rescuing stranded residents to restoring essential services like electricity and water. Plaza Man Mall, one of the busiest shopping destinations in McAllen, was also severely impacted by the disaster. The floodwaters surged into the parking lot, turning the area into a vast lake. Most shops were forced to temporarily close to ensure the safety of both employees and customers. Just 1 hour ago, a tornado warning was issued, heightening residents' fear as powerful winds approached. Many hurried away, while others sought shelter, hoping the storm would quickly pass. Not only McAllen, but neighboring cities like Genosa, Harlingen, Brosville, and towns along the border were also severely affected. The floodwaters know no boundaries, leaving devastation in their wake, homes submerged, farms in ruins, and businesses forced to halt operations. The South Texas Health System Hospital in McAllen had its first floor flooded due to a failure in the stormwater drainage system. Even though it's just minor flooding, this situation still causes quite a bit of inconvenience. The hospital is forced to cordon off certain areas to ensure safety for both patients and medical staff. The doctors and medical staff are working under difficult and deprived conditions. Given the situation, the hospital has called for understanding from the community and pledged to soon overcome the current limitations. Additionally, other medical facilities in the area are facing similar challenges, ranging from power shortages to difficulties in accessing medical equipment supplies. This situation puts additional pressure on the healthcare system, especially when the number of people needing support surges due to flood-related accidents. Not only were infrastructure systems and public services affected, but the mental well-being of the people was also severely impacted. Many residents painfully recounted losing their possessions, from precious antique cars to household items, while others couldn't help but worry about an uncertain future. Small businesses, often regarded as the lifeblood of the local economy, are facing the risk of bankruptcy due to flood-related damages. In response to the situation, community organizations and volunteers have carried out numerous practical activities, ranging from distributing food to providing temporary shelter for those unfortunate enough to have lost their homes. However, according to weather forecasts, the rain will persist, forcing residents of McAllen and surrounding areas to brace themselves for the challenging days ahead. Record-breaking storm causes severe damage to Rio Grande Valley. March 27, 2025, became a historic day when nature unleashed its terrifying fury upon the Rio Grande Valley. Meteorologists from the National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting reported that today's rainfall has surpassed records that had stood for hundreds of years. In McAllen City, the recorded rainfall was 126 centimeters, significantly higher than the previous record set in 1999. Meanwhile, Brownsville recorded a more impressive figure with 13.5 centimeters of rainfall and a record level of snowmelt since 1911. Harrowing also could not escape this fierce storm, with rainfall reaching 9.4 centimeters, breaking a 102-year-old record dating back to 1923. Particularly, areas such as Port Isabel, Laguna Heights, and Laguna Vista received up to 17.8 centimeters of rainfall in just a few hours before 7 a.m. These figures are not merely dry statistics, but also clear evidence of nature's devastating fury, plunging the entire region into chaos. The record-breaking rain turned familiar streets into raging, ferocious rivers. The floodwaters rose rapidly, sweeping away vehicles, submerging homes, and causing severe property damage. Videos captured by locals vividly recorded the horror of the disaster. The cars nearly submerged in the murky water, personal belongings floating everywhere, and houses drowned in the floodwaters painted a bleak scene. Many residential areas are completely isolated as major roads are deeply flooded, making travel extremely difficult. Residents in the hardest-hit areas like Port Isabel and Laguna Vista said they had never seen such a devastating flood in decades. Stories of people climbing onto rooftops to escape floods or desperately struggling to save their belongings clearly show how small humans are in the face of nature's terrifying power. The flood not only caused property damage but also left residents worried about the safety and health of the community. The drainage systems in many cities currently cannot handle the heavy rainfall over short periods, causing water to stagnate and not drain away. This increases the risk of water source contamination and the spread of waterborne diseases related to flooding. Meteorological experts warn that extreme weather phenomena like this will occur more frequently in the future, primarily due to climate change. The Rio Grande Valley is facing growing challenges in disaster preparedness and response. The local authorities quickly dispatched rescue teams to assist those who were trapped. At the same time, the public is urged to adhere to safety warnings and avoid traveling through flooded areas. Despite being implemented promptly, these efforts still could not completely prevent the damage caused by the record-breaking rainfall. Everyone's life descended into chaos. The historic flood not only left a profound mark in terms of weather but also completely upended the lives of the Rio Grande Valley residents. Many schools in affected areas such as La Jolla, Mercedes, West Laco, Biesgia, Dona, Escalcha Elsa, and Santa Rosa have been forced to close. Harrowing and San Benito had to cancel Friday classes. Some schools, notably the West Laco school system, the report stated that their facilities were severely damaged by the flood. The school administrators said they need time to assess the specific damage before students can return to school. Here are the two English translation options, keeping the original phrasing nuances. Many parents have had to adjust their work schedules and daily routines to care for their children when schools temporarily close. This further adds to the burden on families affected by the floods. The local residents quickly took action to respond to the emergency situation. Cities like McAllen, Edinburgh, Bra, Mason, Lothrus North, Halligan, and Browsville regularly share the latest updates through their social media pages. Provide flood warnings and guide residents to use alternative routes to avoid hazardous areas. The city of Fa has pioneered support for its residents by establishing 2 emergency shelters at Joe's P.P. Salinas Recreation Center and the Fa Research and Development Center. People should bring identification documents, medications, and blankets to ensure safety and comfort during their stay at evacuation centers. However, the regulations are quite strict, such as the ban on bringing pets, which poses difficulties for many families as they consider them indispensable members. These shelters quickly became a refuge for hundreds of people who lost their homes or could not stay in their residences due to the floods. Alongside the efforts from the authorities, the spirit of solidarity within the community has also been clearly demonstrated. Many non-governmental organizations and volunteer groups have launched food, clothing, and essential supply drives to assist people in need. Many churches, community centers, and kind-hearted individuals have opened their doors, ready to welcome those in need and provide them with safe temporary shelter. However, the region still faces many challenges on the path to recovery ahead. Local businesses, especially small shops and farms, reported suffering heavy losses in goods and crops. The agriculture sector, once the economic backbone of the Rio Grande Valley, now faces severe losses due to flooded farmland and extensive crop damage. The local government has promised to provide both financial and technical support to struggling businesses and residents. However, the scale of this disaster requires a long-term effort and close coordination among government agencies, private organizations, and the community. This historic flood is not only a natural disaster but also a wake-up call about the urgent need to prepare and adapt to environmental changes. Scientists have once again confirmed that extreme weather events like this will occur more frequently in the future. Communities like the Rio Grande Valley need to invest in sustainable infrastructure, establish early warning systems, and enhance the effectiveness of emergency response plans. As people begin to clean up and rebuild their lives, their resilient spirit and mutual solidarity will form the strong foundation needed to overcome all challenges ahead. The power of unity in the face of natural disasters. Amid countless hardships during the historic flood on March 27, 2025, in the Rio Grande Valley, the spirit of unity among the people of McAllen and neighboring areas shone as a warm beacon of hope. The police and firefighting forces worked tirelessly, despite the harsh weather, to help the people overcome the explosion and fire disaster. They always maintain the operation of hotlines such as 311 and 911 to promptly respond to all distress calls from people trapped in floods or facing dangerous situations. Public servants are also working to address severe traffic issues caused by deeply flooded roads, making travel nearly impossible. The infrastructure system, from bridges to power grids, has suffered severe damage, requiring extraordinary efforts to restore as soon as possible. However, according to weather forecasts, heavy rain will persist throughout the night and into the next morning, increasing pressure on rescue teams and authorities. The response efforts became more complicated as floodwaters showed no signs of receding, while the risk of damage continued to rise unchecked. The local residents demonstrated a strong, admirable spirit of solidarity as they overcame this challenging period together. People not only help each other but also actively share crucial information on social media, from detailed flood situations in specific areas to urgent rescue appeals. The videos recorded by locals and widely shared online not only reveal the devastating power of the flood but also remind us of the urgent need for community support. The sight of cars being swept away by the raging currents, houses submerged in a sea of water, and people struggling in the murky floodwaters has left countless hearts aching. Many charitable organizations and individuals promptly joined hands to assist by donating food, clothing, and essential supplies to help families who lost their homes or property. Volunteer groups also organize relief efforts, providing clean water and temporary shelter for those in need. In remote areas, people often support and care for one another, sharing food and even giving up their own meals and clothing for those who find themselves stranded. The spirit of mutual love and support not only helps share the burdens of those in hardship but also ignites hope and fosters optimism amid life's toughest challenges. Stories of kindness, such as a family opening their door to shelter strangers during a flood or a group of young people braving the waters to help an elderly person reach safety, have deeply inspired the entire community. Lessons from disaster, stepping forward into the future. The historic flood that struck McAllen in the Rio Grande Valley on March 27, 2025, was not merely a natural disaster. It was a stark wake-up call to the unfathomable destructive power of nature. Record rainfall in McAllen, 12.6 centimeters, Brownsville, 13.5 centimeters, and Port Isabel, 17.8 centimeters, is not just numbers, it reflects unprecedented devastation. Although accustomed to summer storms, the cities in the region were still overwhelmed by the devastating force and staggering speed of this flood. The floodwaters rose rapidly, submerging streets, homes, and businesses, plunging the entire area into chaos and a sea of water. Climate experts say this is clear evidence of climate change, as extreme weather events are becoming increasingly frequent and intense. Changes in global weather patterns, along with unsustainable urbanization, have made the Rio Grande Valley more vulnerable to disasters like this. In the time ahead, the authorities and the people will work together to overcome the long and difficult journey of addressing the lingering consequences. Addressing infrastructure issues, from deteriorating roads to overloaded drainage systems, requires significant budget and manpower. Many families who have lost their homes or property urgently need support to stabilize their livelihoods. Small businesses, especially in the agricultural sector, are suffering heavy losses due to crop failures and flooded farmland. The local government has pledged financial and technical support, but the scale of the disaster requires a long-term plan and close coordination. Schools, community centers, and public facilities need to be inspected and upgraded to resume operations as soon as possible. More importantly, this flood forced local leaders to reassess their disaster response capabilities. To minimize future damage, it is necessary to upgrade the early warning system, improve drainage infrastructure, and develop a more effective evacuation plan. Some experts suggest that cities like McAllen should focus on investing in sustainable development solutions. For example, building more modern dikes and protecting natural wetlands so they can absorb floodwaters. This storm is not just a challenge but also an opportunity for the Rio Grande Valley community to unite, overcome difficulties, and emerge stronger together. Lessons learned from the disaster will lay the foundation for us to better cope with extreme weather events in the future. Scientists and policy experts are calling for increased public awareness of climate change and effective adaptation solutions. At the same time, it is necessary to encourage people to actively participate in environmental protection programs. As rescue teams and residents continue tirelessly clearing debris and addressing the aftermath, their unwavering spirit and unity will be the key to overcoming all challenges. The flood left deep sorrow in its wake, yet it also revealed the extraordinary strength of people uniting to overcome adversity. Thank you for watching the video until the end. See you next time.